Got it.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Forsaken Council's special. Luckily enough, we have GD Raikan on tonight. Welcome, GD. GD Raikan, game developer Raikan from Kixeye, and I believe Raikan, your sort of baby, your puppy was the megahulls. Is that correct?
I mean, I'm certainly responsible for a large portion of the execution. However, it is a team effort. I'm just gonna put that out there. It is a team effort. Like, it took a large portion of our team to do it. So I'm not like the sole owner. I just have a lot of knowledge about it, more specifically.
Okay, of course. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't like pinning it all on you and saying this is the guy to kit kind of thing, because that would be mean. But no, I mean, firstly, thanks for coming on the show tonight. I know it's not an easy thing to get up here and speak, and certainly your last appearance, you were given some criticism by a few select players. So it's great to see you back on, buddy, and I do appreciate that.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
So the mega holes, I mean, it's a big feature, I guess. I mean, it's a big feature in the game. It's probably the biggest feature, I would say, that was ever released in BP. And here we are 5 years into the game, when most MMOs of this type die out, and you're releasing a feature of this kind. I mean, that's incredible in itself.
Yeah, I mean, it was certainly a huge investment on our team's part. I mean, it took us several months. I mean, I want to say at least 9 months of between discussing it and building it. It's like it was quite a lofty feature for us, but we were very excited and enthusiastic about building it, and we thought it'd be a great add to the game for a multitude of reasons, which I'm sure we'll get into. But and it's been a long-standing idea at the company, for at least within the team, like 2 or 3 years worth of time, just talking about. Yeah, it's been talked about for that long. It's just there's been different iterations and permutations of it. So it was kind of like, what are good ideas, what are bad ideas, and then sorting out kind of what the best culmination of things would make for the experience that we have today. So
I mean, I was going to ask you, I was going to open up with like, what was the thinking behind the initial idea of creating it? But if you're saying that maybe it's been an idea in the company for years, then,
I mean, they were like, hey, we have this megahull thing, and here's a bunch of different versions of it that we thought of. What's your take on it? And then I pitched my take, and they took that, combined some of the old ideas, and created what we have. So it's been like this grand vision of having this awesome, like, large scale, huge ship on ship action with like a bunch of little ships coming in, and like your alliances fighting, creating alliance wars, like all that stuff. That was the like whole kind of idea behind the whole reason that we did it in the first place. So we thought that was a cool ad that we really didn't have anywhere else in Battle Pirates. So
yeah, I agree. I mean, I just I don't know. I don't know. I kind of feel like the feature itself is not really seen. Like, a lot of times when we see new features, like, let's just say the retrofit lab and the foundry, players have kind of jumped in and been pretty keen to get involved in that. But the mega hull seems to be like a thing. I don't know if it's maybe a concept that a lot of players just seem a bit apprehensive about getting involved in. Like, the community hasn't reacted as well to it as maybe certainly I would have thought they would have done. But I don't know if you guys feel that way too, or.
So I mean, because I'm involved with reading a lot of the community stuff and talking to players a lot, I understand, for those who are vocal about it, where they're coming from on certain issues, about why they're apprehensive and that sort of thing. But from what we are seeing of the people who are engaging, they are super enthusiastic. We get messages about how awesome it is all the time. From those particular players. Granted, right now it's quite a small set of players, but you can we're seeing a trend where probably like by the end of October, the amount of mega hulls and mega users like on the world map and being involved is going to increase by like 5x. So it's going to grow, and we just see a trend of more and more players starting to really engage with the system. So I think it's just kind of like it's in its infancy at the moment, and there's a lot of things coming, and again, we'll probably talk about that. But I can understand the apprehension. That's sort of why I'm on the show, to try to help alleviate some of that, and answer any questions that I can, because I really think and strongly believe that it's going to be an awesome add to the game, as more and more people start getting involved. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of I guess for me, like I haven't started building mine yet, and I think I've vocalized that quite frequently. And I just think that at the moment I'm just a little bit unsure. I did watch a tutorial, and I don't know for anyone that is finding the mega holes kind of difficult to understand. Like the sorry, are you still hearing me? Okay, Raikan?
Yeah, you're fine to me.
Sorry, I might have my YouTube's just stalled on the right there, but I think you know a lot of players that are finding some of the issues troubling, they could go and watch the video, and I actually, it does explain quite a lot. Certainly, even for me as a player, I found it explained a fair bit. But how about from your perspective, Raikan, that you could maybe just from the ground up, even from the ground up, like why should I build a mega hole? I guess, and maybe give me some information about the process of building it.
Sure. Okay. So take a step back. So players, when we talk to them about what kind of features and things that they felt like were missing, or aspects of the game that they felt were missing, from Battle Pirates, they were like, well, it's supposed to be a social game. We have our alliance members, and yeah, we have some co-op targets every once in a while, but really there's not a lot of social add, especially in the alliance kind of area. So that was sort of like a critical point for us, was like we need to create something for them to engage with alliances and with other alliances. So that's sort of like the big thing about this. And so as far as like an experience standpoint, the reason you want to participate is because you get to really have a social experience with the people who are online, who are in your alliance, and have like a real-time kind of interactivity with them, as well as offline. And we'll get to that about hiving and that sort of thing. But
So it's like
you know,
it's basically it's PvP on a bigger scale. It's like another form of
yes.
PvP that isn't hitting a base. It's
Right, and we kind of lost fleet versus fleet too for a long time, and like we see some, but it's not like base hitting, right? Where everyone talks about base hitting, but nobody talks about fleet versus fleet. And so we're like, okay, well, we can definitely bundle in fleet versus fleet for like a large scale alliance PvP thing. Like that makes complete sense in all cases. So so that was sort of like from an experience standpoint, like why do I want to experience mega holes? It's largely like an awesome way to engage with your fellow alliance mates, your friends, whatever, and working together in a PvP scenario, which really we haven't had anywhere else ever, as far as I know. Um, so, or if it was, it's been a long time. So, um, that's sort of that part of it. Um, we can talk about a little bit about the upcoming benefits. I'd like to save that for a little later once we kind of get into it and people understand megas a little more. But there are going to be like tangible benefits for participating in the mega system that we can come into. So Liam, so you haven't built any of your mega stuff, is that correct?
yeah, no, I haven't clicked build yet. So
You haven't clicked build, but you have all the stuff. You're ready. You just got to click the build button. That's
pretty
it.
much, yeah, pretty much. I think
All right. So
I'm like
that's sad.
I'm a few fragments shy,
Okay.
but
All right.
that's
All
more
right.
just laziness on my part. So
Okay. All right. All right. All right. All right. So let's say magic happens and you now have your Hyperion. Okay. Yeah. You. So the first thing that you're going to get is sort of what we call like our starter kit. So you have the Hyperion hull, right? And then you have um, basically a cannon module, a bridge module, and an engine module. Okay. Now, what is a module? Well, if you think of module as like a glorified ship turret combination, so it's
right.
basically a, like turret or cannon or weapon that gets placed kind of onto your Hyperion, and that comes as part of the module, right? And it's very powerful. It has all these cool mechanics to them, and they're different, and they have different fire angles. We'll get into all that, but basically, it comes with a badass something, right? And then on top of that, it'll have like weapon slots and special slots and that sort of thing. And that's where you kind of put your normal stuff. So the stuff that you kind of got through the rest of the game, you can then put onto the module, and that's going to help you fend off like other ships coming in and that sort of thing. But a module basically is just this entity that is placed on your mega ship and into a position on your mega ship. So you know how you have land tiles and the land tiles go in a certain grid? Mega ships are sort of like that, except they're configured sort of. The grid's not a square; it's like a U shape or whatever, and so you can only put your modules in those particular locations. And then on top of that, you'll be able to like rotate them. So this is sort of like if you want to aim something. So so because some weapons, unlike traditional ones in BP that you're used to, have an actual firing angle and targeting zone. So the difference between that is that the targeting zone is sort of like the wide kind of area in which it like detects enemies, basically, and then the firing angle within there is sort of where in that it's going to fire, right? Like that's where the projectiles are going to sort of go in that sort of pattern. Is the best way I can describe that. So this is important because you're going to need to rotate them in such a way that you feel like you're offensively viable or defensively viable, depending on what the situation calls for. Now, you can do this freely. There's no cost to you. It's simply a strategy thing. So
you
you can.
kind of want to like you saying to me you kind of want to like cover every angle. Say for example they have a field in which they can fire in, like maybe is it similar to the Hyperions we've seen in the last raid cycle and in the 91s?
Right, exactly. Yeah. Those are like our early prototypes of like when we were experimenting with what it's going to look like, and we kind of wanted to get in front of you guys to kind of see how it went. But yeah, so when you saw those firing patterns, that's sort of the thing I'm talking about, right? So yeah, so you want coverage depending on what your goals are, right? So if you want to be offensively driven and go, attack someone, that might require a different rotation and configuration than being defensive as part of a hive where you're trying to cover more areas. So does that all make sense to you so far?
It does make sense. I do wanted to ask though. So when you talked about modules, and you said that the modules themselves were kind of like a turret and a ship combined. So as well as equipping, say for example, I used the cannon modules you described, and then I say I wanted to support that by putting some more. Do you say it has other weapon slots on it? So I wanted to say I put some more cannons on it that say ranged at 90. Added like some range increase and reload increase. I mean, would that operate just the same way as it would on a ship?
So that's a good question. So the mega like core, let's say, like the big weapon in the center, the cannon, that is not affected by any of the normal stuff in the game. Now, that said, the standard weapons like a blade missile or something, that going on the module, if you gave it like guided missile system, that would affect the blade missile, but it wouldn't affect like if we had a missile core, it wouldn't affect that. The things that affect megas are going to be exclusively called out as like this affects the mega, like the engine, like the kinetic and pyro engines that are released in the TLC. Those things directly call out this is going to bonus your mega modules, right? And we'll be releasing later so the modules and the core can be upgraded in level. So you don't need to like retro it or whatever. It's just straight up like you upgrade it, it gets better, and then you upgrade the core, and that gets better, and so on and so forth. And so when you later in some future upgrades, we're going to add mega specials, and then mega specials will affect your core, so to speak.
Okay.
Does that answer your question so far?
It does answer my question. So another thing with regards to the specials you could put on the core. So things like armor resistance benefits and evade benefits and stun resistance, any kind of stuff like that. That's just really going to affect the weapons on that module and not the module itself. That's exactly what you're saying, correct?
It's not going to affect the core. Yeah. So it's not going to affect like how powerful the core part of it is. Technically, if you equipped like a bulkhead to it, it would increase the health of the module, right? So just sort of think of the core as sort of like placed separately over here, and then everything else about the module and the slots that are part of that module are affecting kind of the things that are equipped to it and the module itself. Now, granted, keep in mind that the modules that we've released so far all have like 100% defense handicap. So the resistance stuff doesn't really play here, but evade works, all your typical stuff still works. So so just kind of keep that in mind when you're building your module. But that's sort of how that works is that there's basically the two camps are there's things that affect megas and things that affect standard stuff, and they're completely separate.
I'm with you.
Okay.
I understand.
Okay. Got it. Cool. What else do you not know about megas that you need to know?
Okay, so we've established the modules, the cores, which I'm assuming are the weapons that we're discussing. So you talked about a bridge module. Is that does that also fit onto the same slot that a weapon would fit onto, or is it something different entirely?
That's a good question. So there is a specific bridge slot, and there's a specific engine slot on the megahull. So the bridge is sort of like your victory condition in some sense. So the bridge itself in combat, anyways, as of today, doesn't really do anything. It has a health pool, but basically it can't be attacked until all the other modules on your ship are destroyed. Once all the other modules are destroyed, then the opponent or you can attack the bridge, and if the bridge is destroyed, then it's victory or defeat depending on who's the attacker and who's the defender. But if you're the owner of the mega, you lost if your bridge gets destroyed. So that's sort of the bridge. Now the bridge is important though, because coming out soon we're going to start having bridges that are more about the world map and benefits provided from the world map into combat. So it's going to be a bigger kind of aspect and a really kind of defining feature of a mega in some sense, at least on the map level strategy, which again is something we really hadn't had in BP. It's this map level kind of connection, and I think it's going to be exciting there. So that's sort of the bridge in a nutshell. It's not super complicated as far as what it does yet. The each bridge will have its own thing, and you'll have to learn that, of course. But the general function of a bridge of, hey, it gives support on the world map when you're in a hive, and if it gets destroyed, you lose. That's pretty simple and straightforward, I hope. So, and then the engine is basically it dictates how fast you move on the world map and whether you can move on the world map. And then it also will be if you look at the kinetic and pyro engine, it's providing damage bonuses to specific categories of damage for the core module, the core piece, for everything on your mega. So that's sort of like the global aura booster thing that people will typically have. But the engine, basically, if your engine gets destroyed, you will be unable to move on the world map until it is repaired. So it's really important that your engine tries to stay alive to the best durability. At least if you are interested in moving. In a hive, it's less concerning, but if you're trying to move around and stuff, that might be a problem. Yeah, so I think that answers the engine and the bridge. What else do you have questions about? What else am I?
Well, okay, so I took that on board, and I've built my modules, and I built my engine, and I built my bridge. So I've kind of got my mega hull ready, and I'm ready to take it to the next step. So what is my next step as a player? What am I going to now do with this mega hull?
Okay, so depending on sort of your situation, so let's say you've built modules in every single slot, you've decked it to the 9, whatever. The important part is two things. So one, either you need to go attack other players, and the important part for that is so you can try to steal very specifically new resources. Now, these resources can be earned by basically going out and doing the 91s or 95s now, the Legion mega targets. You want to attack those on the world map to earn titanium. Now, titanium is then used to convert it through the R&D process where you have the timer over your base, that thing. You basically use that to convert it, and you can base steal time to make it go faster. That's all the same. So you still can speed it up if you want, if you're a successful base hitter. But basically, you earn those through that process, and it gets stored on your mega. Now your mega can be attacked, or you can attack another mega, and the winner of that battle gets to steal, one or two of those resources, basically.
Okay.
So if you go out and attack people and you need those resources, there's a chance that they have some stuff on it, and so because of that, you want to. That's a good opportunity for you to kind of like get ahead of the game. Now, let's say you have a bunch of resources though, and you're just trying to build it up, and you don't necessarily need to attack people, but you don't want to be attacked. Well, that's where hiving kicks in. Okay, so hiving is basically we just released this. So if you check the world map and sort of like the corners of the sector, I guess is the best way I can describe it. There's a new node thing called a Nexus, and what that is that a mega player can click on that and link to the Nexus. Okay, and what it does is every mega has 4 links total. And the Nexus would take up one of those in this case if you were to link directly to the Nexus. Now, when you are linked to the Nexus, you basically put out the remaining 3 like connecting points, and you're in the center here. Okay, so you have these 3 points, and your alliance mates who have the have a mega can link to any one of these. Okay, and when all 3 of them, or all 4 of them technically, if you're connected to the Nexus, you're only worrying about 3. But when all the points are filled, you in the center here, you're completely immune from being attacked until one of these guys die. Right. So if you're fully surrounded and protected by your alliance guys, you are protected. Okay. So the more of them you have in a hive, the more people who are protected. Right, and so now you can save and store, and it's sort of the kind of the key defense metric for doing that. Because if you were to do it any other way, like even if you click on the map and it goes somewhere, like you're totally vulnerable to somebody coming in and just coming in with their friends, or another mega that's stronger than you and coming in and just taking it, right? Where if you're in a hive, you're going to be much better defended because it's harder for them to get to you. Right. So that just intrinsically, as far as the mechanic of hiving, it's important in order to defend yourself well. Now, we'll get into it a little later, but and I mentioned before, there's going to be new bridges that are going to provide support to people who are linked to or part of that connection point with you, right? And will give you aid in combat so that you're not just overwhelmed and it doesn't feel like a 5v1. Right, there's going to be some really strong connections there. So we'll go into that later, but that's sort of what the kind of choices are immediately when you get your mega.
If I was to be that player that first went on, say for example, I said to my alliance, "Hey guys, this week I need to really work on my mega and get some resources together to build it up. So I'm going to go on to the Nexus. Can you guys surround me so I can sit in there protected and just get my shit together and get my ship going? And then next week, once I'm built up, I'll let you drop in and we'll work as a team. And that way, we can all progress on the megas." Is that the thinking there, or?
Exactly. No, that's exactly it. So, you have to coordinate with your alliance members, right? It's a very social alliance feature, right? So you got to coordinate with your buds, right? So you guys make the decision about who's protected and who's not, right? As long as you guys are building your hive properly, right? Like if you build it poorly, obviously you're going to get attacked and you're going to be like, what the heck? But if you kind of are protecting correctly, you can make trades about who's getting protected, who's not, and like what the shifts are or whatever. But there is one important note about hiving. So when you're in that centerpiece, you cannot move. Okay, this is really important. You cannot move. You cannot delink yourself from the hive. Okay, and the reason for that is if you were to imagine doing that and it's expanding, right? So you get like 3 here, 3 here, 3 here, 3 here, 3 here, 3 here, and it's, and they're all just sort of connected, right? And you're at kind of the center point here. If you were able to leave, right? What happens is there's a rule that basically says, you can't leave if you would orphan someone, right? In other words, they're kind of stranded and on their own. By leaving that point, then you would end up breaking and chaining off the whole hive, and the whole hive would break, which kind of screws over everybody, and it's kind of a selfish move, right? So the only person right now who can do that is your alliance leader. So if your alliance leader is a mega, they're the only ones who can like deliberately disband, quote unquote, the hive, right? And this is just a guard so that other people aren't screwed over justify somebody making a rash decision about wanting to move their mega. So that rule is flexible still. We're going to see how it goes, but that's sort of the starting point about what we're looking at. That's I just want to say that's important, because when you're thinking about hiving, you gotta make that commitment. Now, most likely people are going to attack you. I mean, that's the fun part of seeing a giant hive too. It's it is a target in some sense, but it's really the best defense as well. And that's sort of the point. So that once your megas are destroyed, they'll delink and go flying off somewhere so that people can connect into the hive and stuff. But that's sort of the answer to that. Yeah.
Okay. There is quite a good question that was brought up in the YouTube chat. I know we're going to go into some Q&A later in the show. Well, we're almost at the halfway mark already, but Damnation did ask what I thought was a good question actually in the YouTube chat. And his question, he was more asking about the Nexus itself, and his main concern, I think, is a concern that a lot of players share, is about the world map being quite a messy place to look at right now. And his question was, why did we add them? Would it be possible, I think is what he's getting at, is to actually, instead of having a Nexus that we all hive to, just a ship to just say, okay, click a button, let's start hiving on me, I'll be the centerpiece kind of thing. Why did we need, what he's asking is, why did we need an additional icon on the map, and why not just say, hey, let's hive, on the hive, let's do this. Do you know what I mean?
Sure. So fun fact, that was our original design. So the problem is that from a technical perspective, it proved to be very difficult because some of the code around world map had some fragility to it that we really couldn't dig into and take care of. So as a result, we had to make a consensus about a place that people could hive to, and so as a result, we had to create the Nexus as part of that structure so that we could actually get hiving into the game. So it was just sort of a trade-off that we had to make.
So you wanted to do it, but you couldn't, and the Nexus was the solution.
Yep, basically. Okay. I understand the world map clutter though, and side note, for what it's worth, we're talking about how can we remove clutter from the world map. So there you go.
Okay, so I guess I mean, I'll be honest, I like what I'm hearing. Like I think that the idea of this big ship and these modules and these weapons and specials, I mean, I knew some of that already, and I think it's an exciting prospect, as long as it's not too much in terms of my time and coin or whatever to do it. So I do like the premises of this so far. But what I'll say to you is, what benefit? Like, it's a lot of work. It is a lot of fun, and I could get my alliance to do it. But what are we going to get out of it?
Sure. So that's a fair question. So originally when we made the feature, it was like, hey, this is totally optional. It's a cool PvP thing. It's an alliance thing. And that's what, and the reason we did that was because that's what people were telling us, right? Players were like, hey, like, it's cool that you add stuff, just don't make it mandatory. Right. But then on the flip side, we get comments like this where it's like, well, what's in it for me? It's such a big investment. Why do I care? Like, so we got enough of those from people that we're going to go ahead and feed it back into the game. Now, not in a drastic way, not in the way that you guys would typically think. The benefits that we're going to be doing isn't like gating you somehow from being able to do something in the game. We're not going to do that. But the benefits that are part of Megas that we're going to be talking about here in a second is going to be pretty amazing, for lack of a better description. It's going to be things that we've never done before. So here's an example. So what we're working on right now, and I'm gonna, before I go into like future things and things that we're gonna do, I'm gonna like tagline this with like subject change, right? Like, please do not hold me to every single word, okay? But what we're looking at doing and we're working on sort of right now is
possibly doing.
Yeah. Well, we're writing documents and stuff, right? We're talking about it. So what we're possibly going to be doing is at some point in time, like during the day or whatever, again, fuzzy on the details, but the general gist is that a nexus or multiple nexus in the world map will spawn as like a golden nexus, let's say. And when you hive to it, you will start getting gold coin. You'll start gaining
Shut
coin.
up.
And not just for you, but for your entire alliance. Every X period of time, you'll receive some amount of gold.
Depending on how many's hived, I imagine.
No, as long as you're holding it, you'll get it.
And then the other guys have got to come and fight you off of it so they can take over it and they get the gold. This is really going to step it up a gear. I get you now.
Yes.
That's very,
so,
very, very interesting.
So I mean that's just sort of the first one we're thinking of doing. Okay. I mean it's gonna be stuff like that in that level of amazing is sort of
That is
what we're
amazing.
going for. Okay, so if you're wondering why is it worth it, it's because you can earn gold. Okay, like that's an easy answer for me. And on top of that, other things, just so you know what we're talking about things like as long as you're holding a Nexus, you'll get event points for both FM and raid, and even when it's not running. And so you'll have event points and raid points stored up before the event even starts. So it reduces the amount of time, money, effort, whatever, to get the things you want from those particular aspects of the game. So it reduces kind of your chore time, right? In the sense of, we do that with maybe resources. We've talked about like road crews and stuff. Just like a whole bunch of really great things that we're trying to kind of give players. That
well,
we
free
seriously
gold is probably like, I think that's probably the one thing no one would ever expect to get, and is the one thing that I think everyone would want and ask for years.
It was the first thing we all thought of. We're like, what are we going to do to help these? That's not mandatory, but it's awesome. And we're like, well, gold.
Well, I mean, you could even toy with that further. Like you could have the gold ship, hive to the gold ship, get the gold. A ship that's got a spanner over it, hive to that, and you get faster repair. A ship that's
exactly. I mean,
that's a ship build modifier.
Yeah, so exactly. Actually all of those were talked about, like a build modifier, refit mod, ship mod, all those things totally on the table. We actually all sort of like a lot of those. So again, it's like these really high impact things, not mandatory in any way. Like I'm not gating you from going off and doing your raid, right? But it's obviously great if you have it. And that's just the beginning. We're going to be doing things like, or we're looking to do things like relics, which are similar to a Nexus, but it's on an individual level. Like you hold it, and if someone attacks you, then you like lose it, and then you got to go get it. And it's like all your alliance mates can get them and stack them together and get better benefits. Like the more of them you have, the better it is. That sort of stuff. We're also looking at doing modules that have crazy benefits, like a good example would be like a manufacturing bay or whatever. It basically, what it would allow you to do is you could build a ship and be able to give it to your alliance member, right? And so they may not own the blueprint, but you can kind of gift them the ship basically.
A fully built ship.
Yep, a fully built ship. There's a trade-off of potentially it being stolen if you aren't protected, right? Obviously, part of being in a hive is protecting yourself, so that might be part of it. But regardless, the benefit of being able to help your alliance members, because I hear that from people all the time, especially the high levels. What about the low guy? How are you going to help the low guy? Well, you can now help the low guy if you build a mega with a manufacturing bay. The other thing that we're doing is we're looking at doing what we're calling like a fleet bay module, where basically you can have a fleet in your mega and you can have a separate repair queue for it, and as long as you continue to use it for megas, you'll have a separate repair queue and maybe a reduced repair time as well. So you're going to be able to have that as a separate option, so you're going to be able to repair a couple things. We'll work around the exploits and stuff. I know people are getting funny ideas right now, but but that's the general idea though, is like we're doing really epic things with the awesomeness factor of the benefits that you're going to get from mega. Again, nothing that I can see so far that's mandatory in the sense that you're gated from and prevented from doing something because you didn't do mega, but again, clear benefit, just like the gold thing, right?
And also I think for once there's going to be there's going to be a reason to be in an alliance. Like, it's actually going to be worth being in an alliance now. Whereas I feel like the alliance feature's been dead for some time in terms of there's no real gain to it. Like, yeah, okay, you can get a little bit of a reload bonus, but it doesn't make that much of a difference the way ships are these days. Do you know what I mean? We're talking like 400% reload bonuses. So no one, you know, it's not affecting us that much. So I think it would be great to see that as well. It'd be great because I feel like as an alliance leader, sometimes it's difficult just holding an alliance together these days. You know, it really is. So it would be nice to see that feature really take a kick off, and mega ships could be a key part of it. I feel like I feel with the gold part that you've said today, I feel like you've already sold me, but you know, I know we still.
I mean, that's just the beginning, right? Like all these ideas that I've mentioned are things that we're actively talking about doing, and I think we're all on the same page about the quality of bonus that we're providing or benefit that we're providing and the way we're thinking about it. I think it's all really good. So I'm very hopeful of all the cool benefits that we're able to give. I'm actually not worried about it. So I'm excited for you guys. So yeah. Oh, one thing though, I remember. Ren was talking to me about this. So, so a good concern that I heard about was, and I'm sure maybe this is a concern of yours, Liam. I'm not sure. But what about the small alliances? How are they going to hive? How are they going to defend themselves? Because you know, size matters in this case. You know, so so we thought about that. So we're still getting kind of initial feedback and data from like how megas are going, right? But I think once we're comfortable with where it's at and like the things that we're releasing and how it's going, I think the thing that we're kind of talking about is doing like a couple things. So the first one that I like the most is being able to set up coalitions with other alliances. So what this means is you can team up with other alliances, and then you guys can be part of the same hive. So that's sort of how you do it. Is you could have like multiple alliances working together.
Like maybe you set an ally for a week. You can set like where you set an enemy for a week in the game now. You could set someone as a friend for a week, kind of thing.
Exactly. So that's what I think that's a pretty good one right out the gate. And then there's other things in terms of like the way we handle content and certain types of content that'll be a little more geared towards those smaller alliances being as powerful as like a bigger one with a little more like investment time to do so, right? Obviously. But I think those kinds of things are going to really like, you know, be the difference between seeing like 40 Hyperions and then I'm just going to make this up, but like 9 draconian ones, right? Or whatever, right? Like you'd be like, oh yeah, the 40 one's really good, but man, those 9 draconian ones, those are incredibly hard to crack. Like that's like the toughest thing to do, right? So there's things like that where like this, even if you have less players, the power of the thing that you have kind of compensates for it as long as the investment's there and that sort of thing. But so that's just like a couple things off the top of my head. Sorry, that's like a random thought, but I thought
no, it's not. It's good. I mean, as much information as we can get out there is a benefit to everyone. So, okay. Well, I don't know if it's the right time. See, I wanted to ask you. I wanted to say to you, like, what is the end goal? What's the plan? But I feel like we've kind of already hit a lot of that in terms of some of the stuff we've talked about. So should we maybe go into some? I do have a list of questions, guys, for those in the YouTube chat. I do have a list of questions that I prepared before the show, most of which came off of the TFC post that George put up in the week, which I asked everyone to get involved in. So I guess, and I know even as we read off these questions, we may have already covered it in the last 40 minutes, but let's take a look at what we've got. So let me start from the top. Okay. Excuse me if I make any mistakes as I read them out. So to what end? I.e., why the hell do I want to build one of these ships? Well, I kind of feel we've covered that enough. I
think we covered a good portion of that. Yeah. I mean, again, just the beginning of what we're doing, but yeah, I mean, it's gonna be great. Like, come on, guys, free gold. Are you serious?
The second. The second question on my list of questions is regarding the alliance size. Okay. Which I feel you've just gone into again, haven't you? But I guess with that, like, although you can ally and stuff, I guess another thing to ask in reflection to that question is there a cap on how many ships can Hive at the moment, or is it
Oh, that's
limitless?
there is a limit. I'm trying to remember offhand what the exact number is. I want to say it's somewhere between 40 and 60. We went back and forth quite a bit, so I'm sorry if the number's a little fuzzy.
Really
Um,
that high?
yeah, really that high.
Okay.
We really wanted, if an alliance wants to have a presence on the world map to show how amazing they are and how masters of megas they are, like, we're gonna let them, right? That's kind of the point. It's kind of like this status symbol of like, our alliance is better than yours. Look how many more megas we have. Look at our hive. It's impressive. You can't even crack it if you wanted to, right? Like, it's that kind of ownership and sense of like accomplishment. So we really wanted to enable that. And so basically what it ends up doing, the number came out to like what we could reasonably fit in the space where the Nexus is. I mean, that's basically what it came out to. I want to say it ended up at like, I want to say 40, but I can look into it. I forgot the exact number, and I'm sorry. I feel really bad not knowing the exact number, but it is that large. So
yeah, no, I didn't even think it would be as large as that. So that's good. Another part of that question, which this is question 3, will there be an ability for 2 small alliances or untagged players to Hive together? Now, I guess you have covered that in a sense that you've mentioned alliances being able to become allies. But where does that stand for players that do not want to be in an alliance? Because there is players out there that are just unsociable and don't want to be in an alliance. Can they enjoy this feature in any way?
So that's fair. So again, like from the get-go, the feature is an alliance feature. Okay, so no holds barred. That's what the feature is around. Okay, but if you're a solo player, yeah, it's gonna be it's gonna be a harder life for you for sure. You could make an alliance of one, like start your own alliance and then coalition with people. That's an option. Pending once the feature's out, of course. That would be an option. The other thing that I kind of pitched, again, this is just a pitch of like me talking to somebody. I thought it'd be kind of fun if if an alliance could hire mercenaries. So you could pay them gold or whatever. I don't know the currency, but like, let's say gold for the sake of example. If someone isn't part of an alliance but has a mega, you can basically hire them to be part of your alliance for like a certain period of time, right? And so they can gain like benefits from doing that. But it's only a short duration, but like maybe they temporarily join your alliance chat, and all that sort of thing. And then when they're not, maybe they're in like a mercenary chat with all the other mercenaries or something. Again, this is just an idea. I'm not saying we're going to necessarily do this, but I guess the point is we're thinking about them and we're trying to figure out how they fit into it. But the big thing about it is that at its core, it's an alliance feature. So so I want to be clear about that. So if something like that doesn't ever come out, then just understand that it's because it's an alliance feature.
Okay. Well, it's nice to know that it is something on your radar, because there is generally players that just don't like alliances. So, and I guess it would be good if they could partake. So, okay, let's move into question 5, which is kind of straightforward question. So players are wondering, let's just say tomorrow you said, hey, Liam, hey, BP community, we're going to do a draconian megahull now. What would we need to have a megahull built to then go and win the next megahull? So the next megahull you release, I know there's been speculation and discussion of it being maybe Reaver or whatnot. Will we need a Hyperion to go and win that?
So that's a good question. I honestly don't know. We're still trying to figure our way out about how we distribute mega content in the first place. So we're still sort of exploring it. We're kind of doing the TLC stuff right now. I think it's running right now. That's sort of how we're doing it in the interim. Maybe we'll continue doing it. Maybe we'll come up with a better way of kind of distributing it. So it's kind of hard for me to answer that, because I just don't know how we're going to deliver it, and that's sort of my concern now. Not to say that we're not going to do a Reaver mega ship. We can talk about that later, but we're still deciding that particular aspect.
Yeah. I mean, I guess there's players wondering, like, okay, I'm not really going to be able to build a Hyperion for a while. Let's say by the time I am ready, the next mega hull's out. Do I have to go through the process of building the Hyperion first before I can build the next mega hull? I guess that's the thought behind that question. So,
I mean, I understand the question, and I understand why they're asking that. My answer, unfortunately, is I don't know, because we're still trying to figure that out.
Of course.
it'd be the first time we ever did that anyways. So we're like, okay, well, what do we need to focus on, and how are we going to get this to people? So, so I'm sorry I can't answer that question in full, but we're thinking about how to do it, obviously. So
okay. Okay, then question number 6. Is the sector threat mechanic going to be reworked so that the orange is easier to achieve, so players have better access to 91s for all their precious titanium? I guess titanium being the must-have resource, players are wondering if maybe 91s, or at least a means of getting titanium, could be shifted into an easier, as opposed to some sectors don't go orange all the time. So, players don't have as frequent access to this as maybe some other sectors do. So the question, I guess, there is
what are we doing about it? Yeah, sure. Leads into a couple things. So first off, like I don't think we've been shy about saying this, but this is like what we call like a end game kind of experience for people. So this is for like makership ownership specifically is really about the player who kind of has everything, is able to get their sector bar up, has R&D, has a lot of the stuff they need. Raids are pretty straightforward for them. They're kind of in that zone of like, what else can I do? So that's sort of so if you're in that spot, right, it's not crazy for you to necessarily be like, I can go and get to orange, or I can find a sector that's in orange and do it. So there is like part of that, I think, is behind the fact that it's a high level feature, and so it's gated by a high level accomplishment in order to do it. Now, that said, and I know we spoke about it briefly on the state of the game, we are looking at sector threat, so that is possibly going to change. We're still in early discussions about exactly what that means, but depending on how we do it, it may become more accessible, even for kind of the more average player, depending on how we handle it. So I know it's a little vague, but that's just because I don't want to give any specifics about something that I really don't know about anything about, because we just haven't really gone into it in a whole bunch of detail just yet. Early discussions. So.
Okay. Then let's go into the next question. Okay, will damage protection increase for the megahulls in order to protect its cargo? Like when we bubbled in the old days, it protected our repair and our loot.
Okay. So currently, perhaps I don't quite understand. So currently, when your mega gets destroyed, you lose something if you had it because you got destroyed, right? But then at that point, you can't be attacked, right? You are bubbled, like the flaming fireball of doom over your mega. That's your bubble. So nobody can attack you during that period of time. And the bubble length is just based on it. Basically, your bubble goes away when all your modules are repaired. So at the point that the bubble goes away, you're already able to defend yourself again. So there's no like, unlike the base where like some things might be finished, repaired, or not, or there's some like haphazard kind of approach to it. This one's like very deliberate. Like once you're ready to defend yourself, you're up again, right? And that's it. And so it's pretty smart like that. But again, if you're dead, like your bridge got destroyed, you're bubbled, so you can't be stolen from during that period of time. So that's like I think it's like what's cool about it is all the modules repair simultaneously. So when all your modules are dead, so what basically happens is the bridge takes priority. Bridge repairs first. I think that takes 30 minutes currently. After the bridge is repaired, all the other modules that are equipped will start repairing, and they all have the same repair time. So they're all like 12 hours or something. So they all start repairing simultaneously. So at the end of 12 hours, all your modules are already healed, and you didn't have to do anything. It's automatic, just like the dock is now. So you don't have to manually like worry about it. You don't have to do anything like that. It's just like automatic. It'll take care of it for you. So side note.
Yeah, because I think a lot of players are kind of concerned that like they're going to build a mega hole and then continuously be hit and be locked out of the game, like locked out of playing it, because they're just going to keep getting their titanium stolen and they're never going to get an opportunity to fix it, because the second they're repaired, they're going to get hit again and that kind of stuff. And I guess that adds to the apprehension of players wanting to build these in a sense.
Sure. So I mean, again, like Hiving's sort of important there, and I know like it's new and not everyone has their megas yet. I get it. Um, for what it's worth, too, like um, we're just talking about like how it's going with players, like being able to get onboarded onto the system, and seeing if like the requirements are too harsh or anything like that. So we are looking at that stuff. We're not making any major action yet because again, it's a small sample size of players. Again, and like I said, in the end of October, it's going to grow substantially, and it's going to continue to grow greatly from there. So we'll start getting a little more information about how that's going to go. But I think also like the early part of it, what I've seen a lot of videos of people getting attacked, and there's a couple things that I've noted. One, either it's a fresh mega, or um, they're getting attacked with like a bunch of friends, right? So like it's them versus the other mega, and the other mega's four buddies, right? And that's sort of the kind of pushback. Um, and that's totally fine. That's intended, in fact, but uh, the drone module that just got released, the missile strike drone module, that guy is meant to fight fleets. So having a couple of those on your Hyperion now will really, I mean, especially as you upgrade it and stuff, it's amazing how much work it does against fleets specifically. Um, so that's sort of the um, kind of cool point about that particular module. So again, so the point is that hiving will help. Make sure you're protected. Make sure you're surrounded by your other buds if you got them. And then the other thing is too is build smart for when you're getting attacked. So build things when try to get the drone bridge or build those things, and or build the standard weapons onto the module because those are your best like defenses against these things, especially the fleets. That's really what they're for, because the core really is meant to help fight the other mega most times, with the exception of the drone, and the standard slots are really meant to battle against the fleets. So again, we're kind of analyzing how things are going. So if it's too harsh, we'll make adjustments. But as of right now, again, I know I sound like I'm like a broken record, hyping, but seriously, it's going to be a big part about your defense game, and especially once the bridges come in that allow for cool new abilities and support within battles, and you get multiple of those from your friends. It's going to start feeling like you as a defender have the advantage more so than the attacker. It's going to feel that way. So so I just want to make that clear.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, well then, the next question is: what are the best ships to fight against megahulls? Will conquer hulls work? Now, I guess the behind that question, I guess they're thinking along the lines of the PvE PvP rebalance, where everything was split into resistance and deflection. And I almost feel like the answer to that question is that both are going to work, aren't they? Like your resistance is well. Is it that you're going to need conqueror hulls against the modules and I mean, I guess there's some players looking a little bit puzzled on that one.
Well, so the short answer is you can bring whatever you want, but conqueror holes are meant to be the MMO choice for it, and the reason that that's true is because all the modules and the cores all have resistance bypass on them, like the whole suite of them. So every single weapon that gets added onto the module, it's going to ignore your resistance. So the only holes that in PvE that are really going to be viable are like the fast moving ones. So like Apollo is why you're seeing Apollo a lot right now, is that it's very fast. Now that's probably going to change with the drones, just FYI. But you definitely want conqueror holes because they're everything's sort of bounced around conqueror holes very well. And when a PvE ship gets hit by stuff, especially a conqueror hole or even the mega, like from the cannon or get hit by a mortar or whatever, they will get obliterated. So I mean, your risk, right? You can risk it. You can be like, I'm going to do Apollo and I'm going to do crazy things and I'm going to spin and fly around here, right? Whatever. That's your choice. And if you feel confident that you're that good of a driver, by all means, please do. But
are you trying to suggest that the community has driving skills like me? Because I don't think.
I mean, that's your call, but I don't know how good your driving skills are.
Have you seen that in my subs?
Oh yeah, I mean, Small things, right? But yeah,
Yeah.
no. Yeah. So, anyways, it's your call. My recommendation is conqueror hulls for sure. But if you think you have a strategy and a thing that you can do with PvE, I mean, more power to you. So good luck.
Okay. Okay. So I guess that kind of hits that one. Okay, let's move on to the next one. When changing out the turrets, do you lose all the weapons and specials equipped to them? I think I don't know if we've covered that
Ah,
already.
I've seen a lot of questions about this one. Okay, so so no is the answer. So what ends up happening is if you build a module in the slot of an existing module. So in other words, you've built a module already, it's in this slot, and you want to build a new one in the same slot. Okay, what ends up happening is you build it, and that existing module with all the weapons and stuff on it, that gets put into an inventory. Okay, and so and then the new one is built in its place. Now, when you go to another slot, what you'll see is when you click it, there's a button at the very top called Place Module. When you click that button, it loads up your inventory of all the modules in that inventory space over here. You can take any of those modules and place them in that slot, and if an existing one's there, it's just going to swap them, right? It's going to put them back and forth, right? There's no cost to this, none at all. You can put and switch and move and rotate modules freely. There's no cost, so you can just do it. So the only cost that you have at all is just building the module in the first place. So everything's retained though, the level of each of the core and the module, all the components and weapons you put on, all that is saved and put into that inventory when you do that. So so understand there is an inventory, and you know what? I'll look into maybe changing place module to inventory to try to make it a little more clear for people. That might help.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
great. Next question is, will we see tokens come out? Now, I know we've already seen tokens for the hull itself. We've seen Hyperion
Right.
tokens, and we've also seen tokens to build the it's on the tip of my tongue. The shipyard, the big giant ship.
Gantry. Yep.
The gantry. Sorry, yeah. So, will we see tokens that will come out to actually speed up the modules themselves?
Yes, I believe so. I'm like I want to say I'm like 80% sure. I've heard some talk about that, and I think it was getting built if I remember correctly. So I'm like fairly confident at some point in time, even if it's not in the immediate future, that will happen. So yes.
Okay. Okay, next question. Is there going to be an option to replace a mega weapon with a different mega weapon? At the moment, it looks like the complete module is replaced along with any upgrades and conventional weapon specials that have been fitted. So I guess that goes back to the point where you said if someone wanted to put a new module in, that whole module would come out and go into an inventory. And I guess what they're asking is, could they just refit the mega weapon in that module to the next mega weapon? Is that correct? And not lose all the stuff in it, you know,
Correct.
the other
Yeah.
weapons.
So if you build a new module, it'll switch like that, and it'll substitute the whole module into the inventory, but it'll be in your inventory. So again, you're not going to lose anything by it being in the inventory. You just have to place module it back into a slot, and it'll be there with everything on it. Now, as far as changing the core weapon, like switching it out or whatever, so the answer is no, in the sense that you're going to be constantly upgrading your core weapon, right, all the time, like the big mega one. But at a certain level, we're still deciding where. One of the ideas that we have is that at a certain point, it's going to branch. So when you go to upgrade, it's like choose what kind you want. So it's going to be like, do you want to continue upgrading the culverin cannon, or do you want to convert it into a Gatling gun? Right, and you'll make that kind of decision at that point. So you'll have so that's something we're talking about, because I think it adds a little bit of interesting depth and customization to your module in a way that we haven't done before. So that's sort of to the extent of I can swap out my core component. That would be the extent of it. Otherwise, if you want a completely different weapon, then you got to build the new module, basically.
Okay. So. Okay, answers that one. Okay, let's move into the next one. Let me just. Is the purpose of the Nexus Hive just to provide a collective protection of your alliance megas, or regarding the Nexus provide some sort of bonus to the alliance? In short, why should we link to a Nexus at the moment? Well, we've covered that one for sure.
Yes.
Yeah, the we've definitely covered that one.
Yes.
Okay, let's move on to the next one. Will the base bubble loss be reviewed? Currently, a mega owner hitting another mega does not lose their base bubble, yet any alliance member helping does. Why?
Oh, so that's a good question. So first off, just before I go into it, yes, I'm aware there's no warning sign. Yes, we know about that. Yes, I've documented it. Yeah, I hope we fix it soon. So I have a list of things that we're trying to fix, like bugs and like feature issues and things. So we're definitely looking at all that. So that's on that list. So so yes, we'll get that to you. I hope. It's on kind of our plan of things to do. So that said. The reason that you have your base dropped, so think about it from kind of the mega user's perspective. So a mega attacks a mega, right? At that point in time, like they end up anting up the most risk in the long run, right? Because they have like resources on their mega, right? And they're putting that up as part of like the bet against the other player, right? They're saying I can beat you, and if I can't, then I give you resources, right? These special mega ones. And um, so they already have risk associated with attacking just by default, and their mega might get blown up, or a good portion is going to get blown up, and there's no kind of retreat or running away. It's like heads up. So they incur a lot of risk. So the normal guys, it's kind of unfair that the normal guys would not have any risk for participating at all. It is a PvP act after all. Um, and so, because of that reason, we needed to provide a fair, equal opportunity risk. But we didn't want to penalize them for not using their mega. Like the thing about the mega is that you ante up your stuff when you go to attack stuff. So that's part of that deal. Whereas with the standard fleets, there's nothing really in that vein. And so what we decided to do, since it's a PvP act, is to drop the bubble, which allows for counterattack play for doing an aggressive action towards another player. And that's the general thing about that. I think a big problem from my end is just we don't communicate that well. We don't warn you about that's going to happen. I think that's going to help a little bit with this problem, but I don't think. I mean that's the logic behind it at the very least. Whether we keep it or we change it to something else is sort of to be seen, and like whether or not we need to do that. But as of right now, that's the reasoning behind it.
Okay. Okay. Let's move into the next question. Okay. I believe some of these questions that are coming, we do have answers to already. Okay, this question is a good question. Can you have more than one mega ship? If not, what happens to your original mega and its weapons and specials if you decide to build a different type of mega ship? So I guess, yeah, this question speaks for itself. So
Yeah. So we've been talking about that a little bit. So when we release a new mega ship, here's sort of our thoughts. So we're cool with people having multiple mega ships on the map at one time. Now, that said, I know not a lot of people want to have multiple mega ships out on the map at one time. But I mean, there's strengths and weaknesses to having one out on the world map, both two at the same time. So what we'll allow is you can have another one out, but you can also like recall one basically and put them in your gantry or whatever. But the basic rule will be that you will always need at least one mega on the world map at one time. Like you will always need at least one. And if you want to have more, you can, but that's your decision. That's sort of what we're talking about. Again, light rule structure, we're still talking about because we haven't released one yet. So we're talking about, but that's sort of what we kind of so far have agreed to is like kind of the core principle behind that. Um, what's also going to be good too is when we release mega ships. I think the thing that we're sort of looking at too is like how do we get help people kind of get on board with like having to switch or whatever. And the cool part is that any of the Forsaken tech we've at this point in time have discussed being able to be transferable to any other faction. So Forsaken modules can be placed on any one, right? But the other ones are restricted to themselves. So you couldn't put like a Reaver module onto a Forsaken, but you can put a Forsaken one onto a Reaver. Reaver sticks with Reaver, right? And that way you can kind of like, pop them off and store them in an inventory, and then like rebuild them onto like, instantly put them on to your Reaver, and you're just up and running, by the time your Reaver hull comes out. And then you can go and invest into the new Reaver stuff to really kind of differentiate yourself and make you stronger or whatever. So that's another part of that.
Okay, then I would like to add something further into that question from what you've just said there.
Sure.
So if for example, let's just say our gantry, let's just say I had a dock slot 1, or let's not even call it a dock, but let's just say I had slot 1 Hyperion and slot 2 Reaver ship and slot 3 Draconian ship and whatnot. So I always had to have one active. I was to say I had slot 1 on the map, and the only way I could recall it is by launching slot 2. So would I be able to work on those mega ships stored in? Let's say, for example, I've got the Hyperion out on the map and the Reaver ship in the dock in the gantry. Could I work on the Reaver ship while it's in the dock and just leave the Hyperion out?
I don't know. We're still sort of talking about that stuff. I mean, I think immediately, like, since you can build modules onto your Hyperion and like store them and stuff, I don't know if it would be necessary in that case, since you already have one out anyways, and Forsaken stuff can be transferable. I don't think that would I have a feeling that wouldn't be the case. I don't know for sure. We're still, again, early discussions on that part of it, because that's a little more very specific detail on sort of a feature we're still kind of tossing around. But I mean, that would be my general immediate thought. I haven't given it a lot of thinking about that, but that's just my immediate gut reaction to that.
Okay, no, thank you. I appreciate that. So the next question I have for you, this I guess we've answered part of this question, I think, but there is part of it that's still interesting. Are you going to add some sort of incentive for a player who engages in battle with a fleet, i.e. a standard fleet, not a mega hull? Currently, the repair times already keep players from engaging in the FEF aspect of it. So how is this going to be addressed so that players will want to engage in these battles? I mean,
So for example, when we release the Golden Nexus stuff, right? You as an Alliance member have an immediate incentive to participate, right? I mean, you should, because if your Hive gets attacked and you're online and you see your buds getting attacked and they might lose because you're not there, like, you're gonna lose that gold drip that's coming in every so often eventually, because they're gonna smash through that Hive. And you should want that gold, right? There's no way that you shouldn't want that. So you need to make sure that, like, you're there. So I think once we start adding these incentive systems like the relics and the different types of Nexus stuff, I think that's because it's an alliance wide bonus. You're gonna want to do it. There's no questions there. So I think that's sort of where we're gonna start, and we're going to kind of go from there. I can see why people are saying that, but I really think that once those world map incentives are there, you're gonna feel more compelled to do it. So one cool side fact that I don't think we've covered, that I might have glazed over with the bridge and stuff. So when you have a bridge that has a link ability, basically, like, for example, let's say the drone bridge that's going to come out with the drone soon. The drone bridge will, if you have drones built on your ship and say you're linked to a bud, then what happens is the drones, if they're not being used already, will go and help out your buddy in combat. So that way they're protected from your stuff. So they could have drones, and then you could port in drones basically from your link, because you're connected to them.
So drones could be like flying in from the side of the map from all the other Hive ships.
Exactly. They'll come in and help them out. Yeah, exactly. And so it's going to be neat. But what's cool about it is, for the attacker, is you have it so that, say you have a drone, you know that this guy's got a drone, and you attack this dude who's linked to him. The drones get moved here, right? And let's say he's open on the other side for whatever reason. You could attack him. And because his drones are engaged over here, his drones won't spawn during that combat. So you can kind of bait stuff out and attack from there. But then maybe this other guy who's linked has his drones coming in. So you need to like bait. So it's kind of an interesting kind of puzzle for the attacker. And there's going to be different kinds of benefits. There's going to be like countermeasure ones, drone ones, like artillery coming in. I mean, there's going to be all sorts of kind of cool ones that you get to do. And it's going to really affect how you think about what you're going to be using. So,
and you're going to have to work as a team.
And you're going to work with his team, exactly.
Okay, I like that. I like a teamwork incentive because we don't have that here in bases. So,
exactly, yeah.
Okay. The next question, someone has just written playback, question mark. So I'm assuming they want playback. Are we going to see it as a feature added into Mega?
I want playback. Like, are you kidding me? I want playback. Yeah, it's just a bigger investment because we got to go into it. And it's a different aspect of playback that we haven't really explored. I don't think it's impossible. I think it's just going to take us time, and we're just currently trying to prioritize like glaring issues, right, and fixing those first. And then once we've done that, we're happy with that. I'm gonna personally push hard to get playback in because I think that's important for like people who are offline and want to see like because they beat a guy or like whatever or they lost and they want to know how that went down, right? Like that's the cool part, and you share that experience with people and be like, look at this asshole, or like look at look at how awesome I was, right? Like whatever, like it's a cool experience, and I want to be able to people to share that experience, and I think that's really important. So I'm gonna be pushing for it. Once all the big stuff is taken care of, I'll be the first one, be like, hey, yo, playbacks, can we get them? Like that is something I definitely want because I want to see that stuff. So
definitely. Okay, let's go into the next question. I promise there's not tons more. Can we get a titanium counter in our base? Hunting for it on a megahull is not convenient.
Oh, that's interesting. So I think our initial concern was that there's a lot of resources in your base to begin with. We were a little concerned that adding another one would add another level of maybe confusion or complexity that was not necessarily like really necessary for those who don't have a mega. I think is sort of where we came from. Whereas if we're like, hey, you have a mega, and when you're viewing your mega, the resources that you care about while viewing a mega are those resources, right? And that's why they're there, and not the others, and vice versa. Whether or not we can we certainly could put them into the base. I would need to think about if we were to do that, the fidelity of that, and if there's a clean way, like if you don't care about a certain resource, maybe it swaps it out or something along those lines. But the decision was, what do you care about when you view your base? What do you care about when you view your mega? And that's how we made the decision about where resources are stored. So I think it'd be great feedback if I could get more feedback on sort of your guys' thoughts about that. That would be helpful because that was just one of those kinds of decisions where we had to make a call. But if there's something better that you would like or prefer, or in addition to, happy to look into it. I don't know when we would do it, but happy to look into it.
Okay. Okay, how does the drone module and bridge work? We've already said that, haven't we?
Yeah. So if you want more details, the drone module. So the drone module will not enter into combat to help your friend. You need the bridge for that. That's not out yet. Okay, but the module itself, like the drone module, will help you personally in combat. Okay, so a lot of the details there are on the forums right now. I think Doom updated the release note section, if I remember correctly. I gave like a quick couple of bullet points talking about a little bit of the details of it. Hopefully that kind of helps. But the long short of it is drones wreck fleets. That's what they do. If unless you have like a ridiculous amount of like pen deflection or whatever, but generally speaking, like of the ones that don't have that, they just get like the amount of damage that they do is insane. And I think even as they level up, because I've worked on a couple of the later levels too, so I kind of know how strong to make stuff. Starting I think around level 4, you really start to see the impact of those things, like in a big way. You can build 2 of them on the Hyperion. That is a hull level restriction. So each hull will have like a determination of like what kinds of modules it can equip. So for the Hyperion specifically, you can have up to 2 built. I'm sure you can store multiple in your inventory. Like you could build over it and like have multiple in your inventory if you want to. But you can only actively have 2 on the Hyperion at any time. But again, you can place those anywhere you want. There's no restriction about where you can place modules or what order or anything like that, or what that's all there. The drones do spawn from the front of the ship. I would kind of like maybe some feedback on how you guys like that. My inclination is that maybe if you rotate it, it spawns from the side or something, like depending on the facing of the direction, that's where the drones spawn from. But for now, it's spawning from the front. And if you have 2 of them, they'll spawn kind of in sequence, so you'll see them kind of layered on top of each other. So if you only see one and you're expecting 2, just know that they're like under each other. I'd like to get that fixed at some point too, but that's a little minor. You do get the effect and the impact of having them. So yeah, they're impressive. The one really important thing though is on the top down when you're building it, there's slots within the drone. Okay, and this is unique to drones. So basically, we thought it would be cool that instead of equipping the normal stuff onto the module, you can equip stuff onto the drone itself. So when you equip a weapon on the drone module, it actually equips it to the drone, not the module. So the drone is now more powerful. And if you add armor, the drone now has more armor, right? That sort of stuff. So that's really important. We visualize that by the slots being kind of within this border of the drone. You'll see it on the top down. It's on the forum post. You can kind of see where that is. And then if we were to add modules later or slots later onto the module, you would see them sort of on the outskirts, away from the drone. And that's how you kind of tell the difference. So, but for now, everything is on the drone. So anything you equip on that will be applied to the drone directly.
Listen,
so
very
that has a level. Yeah, I thought that was cool. So.
Definitely. Okay, well, I think we've already answered the next few questions I've written down here. I mean, what benefits are Hiving? We've certainly answered that. Is there a limit to the amount of drones that can help? Do the drone modules take up one of the 4 defense slots? Did you just go into
that? So there is a limit. If again in the post, I don't think it's showing right now in the like when you're building it, it shows all the stats. I think where it shows it will be when you hover over to select, like you click like build module and then it selects like which one you want to build. When you hover over, it gives you that stat block. Anyways, in there and in the post, I talk about kind of what each stat means and how many can be on the battlefield at once, and how many before you run out. That sort of stuff is all kind of covered. The really cool part about it though is you do not need to repair those drones. You don't need to do that. So you're fine. So unlike other ones, you don't need to repair. There's no negative benefit to using drones. Please use drones. They are very helpful.
Okay.
So yeah, all that's covered, hopefully. And if you have any more questions, please let me know. But I think that'll cover between that and the blueprint information. I think that should cover most of it. So
okay. Then the next question on my list, and probably is the last question on this list to ask, and it's not a big finale. When can we upgrade modules past level 2?
Soon. We've been talking about when we're going to do that. It's on our list. I imagine it would be within sometime before the end of the year, would be my guess. So it's on our plans of things to do. We have a good idea of what that's going to look like. So it's just a matter of timing. So that's sort of where we're at with that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, then, guys, if you don't mind, Raikan, shall I ask if maybe there's I know we've already ran over a little bit, and there is a couple more things you want to cover. Is there any questions that anyone has in the YouTube chat? Serious questions, not any abuse kind of stuff. But is there any questions that we haven't covered, or I haven't covered, or Raikan hasn't discussed? Is there something that you would like something to be answered?
Yeah, I'm happy to answer questions. I'm not, I don't know what you guys are struggling with or not understanding, so I'm happy to answer any questions. I want to try to make it as clear as possible. I think once
I was just going to say, it's Leonard Skinnerd. He said that it may have been answered already because he came in late. My Hyperion will not be done until December. How will I catch up and compete with those who have them now? He's worried that he's going to be very far behind by December.
Far behind. Okay, that's fair. That's sort of like a new user kind of problem to begin with. So I think it's going to be important that you work with your alliance. I think it's the first thing I can think of, because again, if your alliance is sort of like already going, then you can hive sort of with them, right? Like they can put you towards the center and protect you as you start sort of trying to build out your resource count, so that you can start building more modules and upgrading more modules. Again, I'm not convinced that the new user ramp is fluid or perfect by any means. So if we find that like a lot of people like you maybe are having trouble, then we'll look to address that. Okay. So, but my recommendation is try to stay protected as best as you can. Hiving is a really good way to do that, especially if you have alliance members who are already started, and try to slowly accrue stuff as you can. Or if you have the R&D timer going, make sure you go to babysit so you can speed up the stealing aspect of that, so that you're getting resources faster, so that you can get up to speed more quickly. That's my best answer that I can give you at the moment. Again, we'll be looking at new user flow stuff and see how that's going to go, but hopefully that helps a little bit. I know it's not the most ideal case answer, but that's the best I got for you at the moment.
Okay. Okay, let's move on to Damnation. Yes, Liam, why can't we have storage for regular boats and technology and weapons? So I guess this feature with the megahulls where you can take away a module and store it into an inventory, what players are saying there is, that would be great to have on our ships in our base as it is, not just our megas. Is it something that maybe you would look at?
I mean, I know we spoke about that kind of stuff. It hasn't been like an extensive conversation, so it's hard for me to directly comment on that. I would say this: if we find that megas are going really well, and players are enjoying it and they like that aspect, I wouldn't say that we would never do it. I would say at that point, like if it's going well, like it would be something worth us considering. Now, whether or not we actually act on that is a different question. But to even sort of prove that that is a thing that seems viable for players and for us, like that's something that the megas would help us prove out. So that it would give me a stronger argument, because I agree, like it'd be awesome if you do that, right? As a designer, like that's a great thing, but to help convince some of the rest of the team, I need to sort of have some evidence to show, like, hey, look, like everything's going well, and people like megas and they like this part of the feature. Can we implement this in other aspects of the game, right? So that's sort of where I would come from that.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry. I'm keeping up with you, Raikan. I'm also trying to watch the YouTube. I don't think I'm not looking.
No worries.
I'm keeping track of you. Sorry. So Laredo and Paul K. So two people. I think they both asked the same question here. Is there plans to allow a megaship owner? Let's just say I had a megaship and it was in battle, and I wanted to bring in my revenges to come in there and fight alongside my megaship and help me out. Is there plans to allow a megaship owner to take a second fleet into battle, like a support fleet, to maybe protect themselves a little?
Yep. So remember the fleet bay that I talked about earlier? The fleet bay would be that, basically. Now, whether that we kind of currently view that as like an offensive tool. So like if you attack someone, you can use that, and then like the defensive one would be the drones, to kind of take on the incoming fleets. We think that's probably a good dichotomy between them. But yes, it's the answer. Like we will have fleet bays that we're looking at to making at the current time right now. Again, like all subject to change, blah 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 blah. But yeah, like the idea is that we want to have fleets that you can bring in for yourself. Now that would probably take up a slot for your buddies that would normally come in, because we got to keep the PvP balance there. But yeah, certainly, I would love to. That way you have a little more agency. I know that's a thing. So yeah, definitely, yeah.
Okay, I'm just trying to pluck out the questions there. Okay, on the tech tree, does it split? Is it into a per weapon type, or the tech tree that you talked about? Is it per module or weapon type?
It would be per module as of right now. Again, super new concept. We're still talking about it. We haven't gone into great depth. We've done the code and infrastructure to support it, so that's why I'm a little more comfortable talking about it. But like culverin cannon splits into these, the concrete rocket splits into these two new things, so on and so forth. And so there's like this really awesome kind of depth. Now, whether that's like all cannons have this choice, or just the module, that's sort of up discussion, I guess. But I think in my head, anyways, it would be on a per module basis to really diversify the meta quickly. And make things really interesting. So a lot more work for me, but I think it would be good for you guys.
Okay. I question. This is kind of a question I'm getting. I've got like a chat next to me, and I've got the YouTube. But some players are saying, I guess there's still a little bit of confusion about the whole bypass deflection thing. So I'm assuming that the megahull weapons, the modules, they will have deflection, whereas the weapons that you fit into that module, they won't have bypass, and they will still be running off the standard variables of the game.
Yeah, so think of the modules sort of like the Conqueror hulls. It's a good way to think about it. So the modules have resistance bypass. Okay, so that basically means if they bring in a PvE ship, you've got the advantage because you're just going to ignore all those defenses and you're going to start wrecking them. Right? They don't have like deflection bypass in that way. And the modules as of today actually don't have deflection. It's a giant health pool, sort of like the Vanquisher. That was sort of like our test trial to see if that concept holds. I think it does. So that's where we're at right now. Now, whether or not we start allowing you to specialize like certain deflection types and that sort of thing on the module itself is something we're still discussing. But I think as of right now, it's pretty clean to say this has a bunch of health and weapons that you equip onto it, and the core weapon they all ignore resistances, but they don't ignore deflection. So that's why when I say bringing conquerors, that's kind of why, because they have deflection and they can kind of go more toe to toe with that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. So. I guess there's another subject which a lot of people do seem very, very quite stressed and quite concerned about, and that is the general sort of cost to repair the modules, the time it takes to repair them. I think from what I'm seeing, most people consider it to be quite high. Is that something that you guys is on your radar, something you're looking to address, or is it something that you feel is an issue with these?
So. I mean, we took a first stab at what the repair time should be. So important note, right? The repair time is high, or like, I mean, it's like what, 12 hours and 30 minutes when you include the bridge, collectively among all the modules, right? I mean, that's
12 hours. Right. Okay.
Like all the modular repair, all of them are 12 hours, so they're all going to repair simultaneously at 12 hours. So you're only repairing for 12 hours and 30 minutes. Now, that particular stuff, like, if your mega gets destroyed, like, like we're allowing for, I
guess,
like counter.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. I mean, so 12 hours, is that equivalent to 24 coins? Like, you can just click speed up coin and.
Yeah, so you can't speed up the bridge. That's the one thing that we did do, and that's intentional, so that if a hive, what we call a hive burning, is going on, like if the alliances are cracking a hive, that you can't just like coin that to get right back into the game. Like we don't want that. We want to show that like you make progression in the hive and someone can't cheese you and come back and like attack you that way. So that's why the 30 minutes is there, and why you can't speed that up. It's a protection against that. Once that 30 minutes is up, yeah, you're welcome to coin the 12 hours. Now, I think we're looking at the gold cost. I'm not convinced that it's calculating properly, but don't quote me on that. It could be. But I was looking at it and I'm like, that doesn't make sense. But anyways, yeah, like but it's like in terms of raw time, it's 12 hours collectively among all the modules outside of the bridge. So
I guess from what you're saying is you don't want, like, if someone's megahull gets taken down, then you don't necessarily want them to be able to click a button and instantly use it again, because that detracts from the whole point of this feature. That's exactly where
exactly. Yep. Yeah. And 12 hours is like not like a coincidence, right? Like other part of the world, like I mean, like that's part of it. So that's sort of why we started there. It actually has less to do about like trying to charge you anything. It's more about like the balance of PvP and like the interaction and making sure people aren't like overly abusing that part of the game, right? That's
because then you could have your megahull shut down and you could be locked out of the game, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. So that's sort of part of it. Anyway, so that's the thinking behind it.
Okay, no problem. Well then, let's have a look. I don't know if. Well, listen, guys. I appreciate everyone in the YouTube chat. I've tried to put forward as many questions to Raikan as possible. I know some of them were on the fly there, Raikan, and thanks for taking the time to do the Q&A. If there's any questions I missed to the TSE and the community there, then I do apologize. And I'm sure if we missed any big questions, that if you pass them along to myself or any of the TFC guys, we can still pass them along to Raikan, and Raikan, I'm sure you'll have no problem taking the time to answer them.
Sure. Yeah. When I got time, I'm happy to answer. I get questions all the time from different players, so I'm happy to try to answer when I can. I may be a little slow. I'm a pretty busy person, but I'll try to answer them when I can. So, yeah.
Okay, then I do believe you may have something. Do you have a little teaser or?
I do. I think I think I messaged you those actually. So if you want to bring them up, I can talk about them.
I don't know if you. Okay, all right. Okay. I don't know if you can screen share or.
Well, I could try to screen share. I don't care. Whatever.
I haven't got the thingy open.
Let me.
If
see.
You can, I can open up.
Let me see. Screen share. I've never done this before. All right, let's see. Share. Can you see that?
I can see that. I can see it. Yeah, it's great.
I can see it. Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
I mean, it's not exact. It's not. It's quite far off, but it's fine. Yeah. It's
okay. Fine. Well, sorry. The size of the thing is shitty. I'm sorry.
It's fine. It's fine.
So, yeah. Well, anyways.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, that's the drone bridge. That's what it looks like. At like level 2, I think. So, So I just wanted to share it with you. I thought it looked cool and kind of crazy, but it kind of shows like, the like radar thing at the top, so that's how it communicates with the drone and stuff like that. And how
like the link ships.
Exactly. So that's kind of like the fiction behind it, which I really enjoyed. And thought it was cool. So
awesome.
That's a small one.
So that's the drone module. Sorry,
that's the bridge, the drone bridge that's going to come out. Late, like
and
week or two.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Yeah, no, sorry. It's in a couple weeks. I'm not exactly sure exactly when. I haven't looked at it closely, but soon, so that you can start using it with your drones, obviously.
How though? That's the big one. How?
Yeah, and again, like I said, I don't know how we're still experimenting with our distribution methods. So at worst case, it's going to be in the TLC, and we'll be adding it or whatever. But yeah, I don't know how, but that's what it looks like. So when you see it, that's what it is.
It looks cool. It looks really cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And so this is early concepting, but this is what we're looking at for a Reaver megahull.
Wow. That is.
Yeah.
Is that the color scheme, or are you going to add like a Reaver kind of?
That's all grayscale, but yeah, no, like I've seen some of the colored ones too. It's like the typical like dark Hellfire brim, like haphazard look with all the colors and stuff. This is just, but like this is the early concepting phase of it. But I was like, oh my god, that's the most awesome Reaver Mega ever. Like, why wouldn't you want that? That's sweet. Yeah, so Reaver's going to have an important role in, obviously, the Mega experience. Each Mega is really going to be having its own kind of characteristics and strengths and weaknesses, and that's why we would be introducing like one of each faction or whatever, because they're going to have a different interplay with them, and we've kind of have this matrix of how that's supposed to go. So I'm excited to see this. I imagine this would be the first one that we would release. But anyways, that's what it looks like. That's kind of it compared to a Hyperion. So I just wanted to show because I thought it was cool.
It does. It looks like the big Reaver Hulk thing, And I guess it is basically is that what it is? Just a big Reaver Hulk kind of.
We kind of gave the art team like a hodgepodge of different ships that we liked, and we're like, make this like this crazy looking thing, and like here's kind of where the positions of the modules are gonna go, and this is why we want them this way, and then they kind of built the ship based on a lot of the direction of that, and like the specifically the shape of the modules that we wanted to be placed had a big impact on the general look of it. So. But I thought it looked badass. So
it does. It does look very badass, and that's it's great of you to share that. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. So I mean, that's what I got as far as like cool things to share. But anyways, that's what I did.
Well, that would be. Do you know what? Also, Raikan, I think it would be really cool, right? And I think the mega ships probably need this more so than any other ships in the game. Would be a customization of colors, like skins, But like the ability to say for example, an alliance leader could open up something and design the alliance skin, and then everyone in the alliance could use that skin. Do you know that kind of thing? Like a
I mean, that's super cool. Maybe we could I mean, that's a cool idea. Maybe like later we could do like a Nexus drop where like if you hold the Nexus for long enough, your alliance gets that skin or something. That'd be cool.
Okay. Okay, just an idea. I just because I thought it would look very generic to see like a Nexus and then like 40 Hyperions all the same color around it. It's kind of
Yeah, I mean it's gonna be kind of cool because you guys haven't experienced it yet, but actually on the world map you're gonna be able to see what what bridge and engine are actually built on that mega hull on the world map view. So you'll actually be able to see sort of what they're trying to use, but you won't know like what weapons they have and that sort of thing. So you'll be able to make some key decisions on the map. That's sort of like our nod to the attacker to be like, here's sort of maybe how you want to dissect it, without like revealing all the cards that the defender has. So that's sort of thing. So it'll be cool. So everything won't look so similar on the world map, but I agree. A cool skin. I mean, definitely we've already talked about that. Maybe even skins for different modules, that sort of stuff. So certainly on our radar. And I like the alliance thing. That's cool.
Well, I guess I didn't realize how much time we've gone over, Raikan. I do apologize about that. I don't know if you had anything scheduled for this afternoon.
I mean, I certainly, I'm sure I'll get yelled at, but yeah, I'd rather be here and talking to you guys and making sure that you guys are understanding things more so than me getting yelled at for some random reason.
So is there anything else that you felt that you wanted to put forward before I look to maybe close the show?
I mean, look, like, Megas is going to be a really cool alliance feature, right? I want people to get really excited about it because I'm excited about it, and I think hopefully some of this gives you some insight as to like what we're doing and where we're going and how it's going to really play into BP and like the benefits that you get for it, that sort of stuff. Like it's going to be huge, literally. So I think I want, and even if you're not a mega owner, it's okay. It's okay if you're not there yet, right? Like, bring your ships, help your alliance mates, do what you can, right? Because that's part of the whole social experience of being part of alliance and like the BP in general. You guys are super collaborative and social. Like, let's put that into the game. Let's have a lot of fun doing it, and let's have a great PvP experience because I think that's something that needs to be in the game. So I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that it's an awesome feature and that you guys really enjoy it. And we'll go from there. Okay. So I want feedback. Give me feedback. And as we get more people, I think you're really going to start seeing it blossom. I think it's really early right now. Because of just the long build time, right? But I think it's gonna be really cool when it's all done. I'm super excited about it. So help me out. Like, if you don't like something, let me know. If you like something, let me know. Like, please let me know because I want to help. Yeah, give me feedback.
Okay,
please.
Well, and I'll do my best to. If there's any TFC feedback, I'll make sure it gets to Raikan. If you guys want to make a post or discussion on the page, we can make sure that we get it sent across and Raikan can take a look and whatnot. And on a personal level, Raikan, thank you very much for again taking the time to come out here and I guess throw yourself to the wolves once more and be that punch bag, But
yeah, no worries. Hey, look, I want to be able as helpful as I can, and anything I can do to try to help is what I'm here to do. And communicate with you guys and try to understand where you guys are coming from and where I'm coming from and sort of the decisions we're making and have that open communication. Because I know like writing a lengthy post is not everyone's favorite thing to read, even if it has all the information in there. So I'm happy to sort of talk about it and try to get different points of contact with our players as best as I can. So thanks for letting me on. Hopefully this helps answer some of the questions around Mega and hopefully gets people jazzed about it. Come on, guys, it's gonna be awesome. I promise, it's gonna be great.
I feel a lot better about it than I did before. Knowing the positives that's going to come makes me want to now build one. So if that says anything to you, then yeah. Okay. Well, listen.
No, that makes me excited. Yeah, let's do it.
Well, listen. Thank you again, Raikan, and thanks to everyone. We've had over 100 watching for most of the 2 hours. Or most of the almost 2 hour show. So appreciate the community being involved. Raikan, can't thank you enough, and we will see you for our Saturday show. Any more feedback on Megahulls, get it in the page, and we'll do our best to make sure that gets spoken about. So good night, everyone, and take care.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.